Hey everyone, welcome to Reality TV News Update, the place where we bring you the latest updates, fun moments, and behind-the-scenes stories you won't want to miss. I don't. Jeff Probst is always a hot topic of conversation amongst Survivor fans. But all the chatter around the longtime host has gotten particularly loud lately. That was to be expected while Survivor 50 was airing. But the volume on that noise has somehow increased since the finale aired. First, it was because of comments about how the game has moved past traditional villains. Now, it's about who he's thinking of while making the show, 6-year-olds. I know that probably sounds like a joke or an exaggeration, but when I saw the quote going viral, at least amongst Survivor fans on social media, I listened to the interview to get the context myself. It happened on the Town podcast earlier this year. The host asked Probst what he intentionally changed about the reality competition show after he took over as showrunner in season 21. He stated that he wanted to improve the picture and make it look more cinematic, as well as transform it into a family show that would inspire young children. I can't imagine you'll find a Survivor fan that would complain about the cinematic part. The show looks way better than it did in the early seasons. And not just because technology has improved. Job well done. But the family-friendly part, not so much. A very loud contingent of fans has been screaming about how overly positive the show has become, especially during the so-called new era, and this interview only pours gasoline on that fire. I wanted to turn Survivor into a show for families. I understood what it meant to me. It meant the characters we played, the stories we told, and the sense of humor I now have. I adore Survivor. I love having fun. I love making dumb comments. I think of kids constantly, and again, our crew knows, it's 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11-year-olds. That's who I'm trying to get to say you can do this. Get your creative juices flowing. Survivor was, at its core, a social experiment under Mark Burnett's leadership as the original showrunner. Although they technically played the same game as they do now, interpersonal dynamics and shenanigans were much more central to the show's focus. A group of players were stranded in an exotic location with personalities that were very different, and sometimes caused conflict. Cast members screamed at each other regularly. They stole and sometimes burned or buried each other's clothes. They lied about their grandmother's deaths and Hurricane Katrina suffering. They got naked, injured rival players during competitive physical challenges, and said vicious things about each other during confessionals. To be clear, there was always a lot of heroism and gameplay too. Castaways learned to fish and build shelters. They made friends in one time, literally got engaged during a finale. They also figured how to play the game strategically, inventing alliances and blind sides, learning how to flush idols and split the votes. The good and the bad were all in balance, which is perhaps why the greatest season in the show's history, the last before Probst officially took over, was called Heroes vs. Villains. Probst's vision for Survivor, however, seems to involve removing most of those allegedly negative elements, and it goes far beyond his continual refrain that he's done casting villains. The other camp can no longer provide supplies to tribes. They no longer compete in any challenges that involve touching, hitting, or physically competing against each other. They can't cuddle or take off their clothes. Players are informed that they are less likely to be shown in the edit if they swear frequently, and players have reported that in recent seasons, arguments on the island are frequently either not shown at all or heavily minimized. Especially in recent years, Jeff's version of Survivor has become really inspiring and positive. But it's not clear if that's actually what fans want. It is definitely not what I want. And if you look at the majority of people on social media and the majority of people I've talked to in person, it is also not what they want. I'm not saying they want Real Housewives Fiji, but most fans want a mix of heroes and villains and a show that doesn't shy away from conflict and negative feelings. I watched the first season of Survivor with my parents when I was in middle school. I loved it, but even then I understood I was not the target demographic. It was a show about adults that showed adults acting like adults. Is it crazy to say that even in 2026, that's the way it should be? When making casting or editing decisions for the show, I don't want anyone involved with Survivor to consider young children. And I certainly don't want the host and showrunner to constantly consider them. It's how we've gone from heroes versus villains to a 10-year new era stretch. That is considered by every single Survivor fan I know to be the worst group of seasons in the show's history. For more than 2 decades, Survivor has managed a rare feat in television. It has continuously evolved, while maintaining the core elements that made it a cultural phenomenon. At the center of that journey has been host and executive producer Jeff Probst, whose vision has shaped nearly every aspect of the game. Recently, Probst spoke about wanting Survivor to inspire 6-year-old children, emphasizing positivity, personal growth, and life lessons. Although the concept appears admirable on paper, it has sparked an intriguing discussion among supporters. Should Survivor be focused on inspiring young children, or should it remain a complex social strategy game aimed primarily at older audiences? The discussion highlights a growing divide within the fan base, one that has become increasingly visible during the show's new era. When the first season of Survivor aired in 2000, the show was not promoted as an educational experience suitable for families. It was a social experiment. In a remote location, 16 strangers were forced to deal with alliances, betrayals, survival challenges, and difficult moral choices. The appeal wasn't necessarily inspirational, it was fascinating. Viewers tuned in to watch human behavior under pressure. Some of the show's most memorable moments came from conflict and strategic ruthlessness. To advance in the game, players lied, fooled allies, and manipulated opponents. Even though those actions occasionally sparked controversy, they also resulted in memorable television. As the years passed, however, Probst began speaking more frequently about the positive impact the show could have on viewers. Stories of self-discovery, resilience, and perseverance were frequently highlighted by him. Contestants overcame personal hardships, gained confidence, and found new perspectives through the experience. In many ways, this shift made sense. After more than 40 seasons, Survivor had become more than just a reality competition. It was a platform for storytelling and personal transformation. The question is whether emphasizing inspiration, especially for very young viewers, changes the fundamental identity of the show. Many fans appreciate Probst's desire to create positive role models. It is beneficial to spotlight contestants who exhibit empathy, perseverance, and emotional intelligence in a sector of the entertainment industry that is frequently criticized for its negative connotations. Parents who watch Survivor with their children frequently point to lessons about teamwork, adaptability, and perseverance. Challenges require problem-solving skills. Social interactions encourage communication and relationship building. Contestants regularly discuss overcoming adversity. From that perspective, Probst's vision seems perfectly reasonable. A 6-year-old may not fully understand alliance management or jury strategy, but they can understand the importance of not giving up during a difficult challenge. They can relate to players who face obstacles and continue pushing forward. The show's increasingly diverse casting has also expanded the range of stories being told. Young viewers can see contestants from different backgrounds succeeding in various ways, which many fans consider a positive development. However, critics contend that putting too much emphasis on inspiration runs the risk of losing the originality that made Survivor special. A common complaint among longtime viewers is that modern seasons sometimes prioritize emotional narratives over strategic gameplay. Extensive discussions about personal development and life experiences are frequently included in episodes. Even though a lot of these stories are interesting, some fans think that they sometimes take away from the strategic aspects of the game. Survivor works best for these viewers when it embraces its competition identity. They want side blinds. They want power shifts. They desire challenging strategic decisions. Most importantly, they want contestants willing to make ruthless moves in pursuit of victory. Some fans are concerned that the show may become overly sanitized. When they hear Probst talk about how to inspire children as young as 6, they fear producers may avoid conflict, downplay villainous gameplay, or frame strategic deception as something negative rather than an essential part of the game. After all, Survivor was built on the famous motto, outwit, outplay, outlast. The outwit portion inherently involves deception, manipulation, and strategic thinking. Although they are essential to the format, those elements are not always comfortable. Interestingly, the debate isn't necessarily about whether inspiration belongs on Survivor. Most fans agree that inspirational stories can enhance a season. The disagreement centers on balance. Viewers believe the best seasons succeed because they combine emotional storytelling with intense strategic gameplay. Contestants are allowed to be complex. They can be motivating at one point and combative at another. This duality was exemplified by some of the franchise's most beloved players. They made daring strategic moves while simultaneously demonstrating resilience and personal development. Fans often point to classic seasons as examples of this balance. Those seasons featured emotional journeys without sacrificing unpredictability. Viewers became invested in contestants as people while remaining excited about the game itself. The challenge for modern Survivor is maintaining that equilibrium. If the show focuses exclusively on strategy, it risks becoming emotionally detached. If it focuses too heavily on inspiration, it risks losing the tension that drives the competition. Probst appears to believe those goals can coexist. His vision suggests that Survivor can inspire young viewers without abandoning the strategic complexity that longtime fans love. Theoretically, a contestant could be both a positive role model and the mastermind behind a brilliant blind side. Execution is the real test. As Survivor continues evolving, producers must decide how much emphasis to place on personal growth narratives versus game mechanics. Every editorial decision sends a message about what aspects of the experience matter most. At this time, reactions from fans are varying. Some welcome Probst's emphasis on inspiration and inclusivity. Others worry that the show is drifting away from its roots. What's clear is that the conversation reflects the passion of the Survivor community. Even after the show has been on the air for more than 25 years, viewers still care a lot about what it stands for and where it is going next. One thing is certain. Regardless of whether you have been watching Survivor for a long time and missed the brutal gameplay of previous seasons or are a newer viewer who enjoys the upbeat stories of the present, Survivor continues to stoke debate in a way that few reality shows can. And perhaps that's exactly why it has endured for so long. The ideal version of Survivor might not have to choose between entertaining devoted strategy fans and inspiring 6-year-olds. It might be one that manages to accomplish both at once, delivering heartfelt tales, likable characters, and shocking surprises. If Probst can find that balance, the show's future could be just as strong as its legendary past. For nearly 3 decades, Survivor has been one of television's most enduring reality competition shows. What began in 2000 as a bold social experiment has evolved into a global franchise and a cultural institution. Through countless blindsides, traumatic tribal councils, and unforgettable winners, the show has consistently reinvented itself while maintaining the core formula that captivated audiences from the very beginning. At the center of that evolution has been Jeff Probst. As both host and executive producer, Probst has played a major role in shaping the direction of the series. He has spoken frequently in recent years about the values he hopes Survivor can promote, focusing on personal development, resilience, and self-discovery. One of his more surprising comments was his desire for the show to inspire 6-year-old children. On the surface, that goal sounds admirable. After all, who wouldn't want young viewers to learn lessons about perseverance, teamwork, and courage? However, the statement has sparked a fascinating debate among devoted followers. While many appreciate the positive message, others wonder whether a focus on inspiring young children aligns with what made Survivor a hit in the first place. An important question arises from the discussion: can Survivor continue to be the strategic, unpredictable game that fans adore while also becoming a source of inspiration for viewers in elementary school? To understand why some fans are skeptical, it helps to remember what Survivor originally represented. When the show debuted, it was marketed as a social experiment unlike anything television had seen before. The contestants were forced to compete for $1 million and were left stranded in harsh conditions. Tension, conflict, and difficult decisions were caused by the environment. Alliances formed and collapsed. Friendships were put to the test. Players lied, manipulated, and betrayed one another in pursuit of victory. The show's appeal wasn't rooted in inspirational life lessons. It was rooted in watching ordinary people navigate extraordinary circumstances. Viewers were fascinated by strategy. They loved seeing contestants outsmart one another. Favorite villains became memorable. Legendary blind sides generated water cooler conversations. The unpredictability of the game was a major part of its identity. For many longtime fans, those elements remain the heart of Survivor. However, the series began to emphasize personal transformation as an additional aspect of the experience. Over time, contestants frequently spoke about how the game changed their lives. Episodes increasingly highlighted emotional backstories and personal journeys. Viewers gained insight into how players overcame obstacles, faced fears, and gained new self-confidence. Audiences were moved by these tales. Many fans enjoyed seeing contestants grow throughout the season. The emotional depth added another layer to the competition and helped viewers connect with players on a more personal level. Probst embraced this direction enthusiastically. He began to describe Survivor as an adventure that could teach valuable life lessons, rather than just a game. Challenges became opportunities to demonstrate perseverance. Strategic setbacks became lessons in resilience. Even eliminations were often framed as learning experiences. This shift wasn't necessarily unpopular. In fact, the more upbeat tone was appreciated by many viewers. The problem, according to critics, is that the pendulum may have swung too far. Some fans believe the modern version of Survivor places too much emphasis on inspiration, and not enough on competition. They argue that episodes often spend more time exploring emotional moments than strategic developments. For these viewers, hearing Probst talk about inspiring 6-year-olds reinforces concerns that the show is becoming overly focused on positivity. Their fear isn't that positive messages are bad. Rather, they worry that the pursuit of family-friendly inspiration could come at the expense of the strategic complexity that defines Survivor. After all, the game itself is inherently messy. Players deceive one another. Alliances are broken. Promises are shattered. Contestants frequently make decisions that hurt people emotionally. Those uncomfortable realities are not flaws in the format, they are essential parts of it. The game's essence is summed up in the slogan outwit, outplay, outlast. The outwit portion requires manipulation, persuasion, and strategic deception. Removing those elements would fundamentally change what Survivor is. Critics argue that a show designed to inspire 6-year-olds might feel pressure to soften these aspects. Villains could become less prominent. Conflict might be minimized. Strategic ruthlessness could be portrayed negatively rather than celebrated as skilled gameplay. That prospect concerns many longtime viewers. However, there is a different viewpoint on the issue. Supporters of Probst's vision point out that inspiration and strategy are not mutually exclusive. A contestant can be a positive role model while still playing an aggressive game. In point of fact, some of the most adored Survivor players demonstrated precisely that balance. They overcame adversity. They were considerate. They inspired viewers. And they also orchestrated major blindsides. These qualities can coexist. Young viewers are often capable of understanding more nuance than adults give them credit for. A 6-year-old may not fully grasp the intricacies of vote splitting or alliance management, but they can appreciate determination, courage, and perseverance. Watching contestants push through physical exhaustion or bounce back after setbacks can provide valuable lessons regardless of age. Additionally, modern Survivor has made significant efforts to showcase a broader range of perspectives and life experiences. For many viewers, that diversity of stories is one of the show's greatest strengths. The challenge is finding the right balance. Most fans are not asking Survivor to abandon inspirational storytelling. In a similar vein, not many people who share Probst's vision want the game to lose its strategic edge. What viewers seem to want is a combination of both. They want compelling personal stories that make them care about contestants. They want emotional moments that feel authentic rather than forced. But they also want shocking blindsides, strategic battles, and unpredictable gameplay. In other words, they want the version of Survivor that succeeds on multiple levels simultaneously. This balancing act will continue to be one of the franchise's greatest challenges. As it moves deeper into its modern era, producers must continue evolving the show without losing sight of the qualities that made it successful in the first place. Whether fans agree with Probst's comments or not, his goal reflects a broader vision for what Survivor can be. He sees the show as more than entertainment. He sees it as a platform that can teach lessons about adaptability, resilience, and human connection. The issue at hand is not whether or not those lessons are useful. Most viewers would agree that they do.